right, we are live. Hello, everybody who is joining us today on Welcome to the Dave Wood Show. I don't know what I'm actually going to call this yet. I might just call it the Dave Wood Show. But in any case, welcome to the Dave Wood Show today. I've got a good friend of mine that I've known for a very long time, Eric Allen. So as you're coming on this and as you're getting value from this, it's my hope that you share this. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about the art and science of how to build really big teams. Actually, Eric has built a team over 1 million people, and there's just not a lot of people that have done that before. And so we're going to talk about, how he's done that. We're going to talk about the positives and some of we're going to go into the no-go land too with network marketing and talk about like just how the industry wants to change or it needs to change. And, I want to tell you the story of how I met Eric actually. So there was this girl, this is the very first business that I joined online.
Love this.
Huh? What do you say?
I love this story. I love it.
Yeah. So there's this girl. It's like very first business I joined online. So I joined, this girl named Jay, and she lives in Canada. And, I don't even actually remember how I joined iLearningGlobal. I think I was in another business, and then Jay jumped into iLearningGlobal or something like that. I don't remember. I was living in a van over on the North Shore of Oahu, Hawaii, parking at different beaches every night. And then, I talked to this girl named Jay. I can't even remember her last name, but she's in Canada, and she'd sponsored me before and something else. And then she's like, there's this hot new thing. It's called iLearningGlobal. So anyway, I joined this thing called iLearningGlobal. And immediately what I did was I just kind of like looked in the organization. It was like, well, who's the upline guy that's like making most of the money? And then that's how I met Eric, because he was my upline in this iLearningGlobal thing, which we were selling, this personal development membership, which was essentially like $179 a month for 15-minute videos of personal development authors who would they'd do a 15-minute video and people would pay like $200 a month for this thing, right? So anyway, that's how I met Eric, and that was his first rodeo. And at the time he had a lot of people in a team at iLearningGlobal, and, so he used to pop on and he would do, webinars with me, and, if prospects needed like three-way calls or whatever, he would do this kind of thing. So he was literally, this is my very first, upline that I ever worked with on the internet. And then unfortunately what happened is that company went out of business. Eric went over to a travel company that I think is now, I don't know if they're out of business or what happened to them, to be honest, but he built a team over there that was just unbelievably massive all over the world with over 1 million people in it. Was one of their top leaders, right? And, he has just been a friend of mine all this time. Now, the thing about Eric that I have really appreciated, and he does all sorts of other stuff. He runs charities, local businesses. He's making a lot of money right now with government programs, right? The thing I like about Eric is Eric has kept in touch with me. You kept in touch with me like once a week for 15 years. you know what I'm saying? Like we have talked like every week.
I'm old school, baby. I'm old school.
Yeah, dude, old school. Like he has kept in touch with me every week for like 15 years straight, right? Like I'm not joking you, right? Since we were in that first deal, he has kept touch with me so he saw me go from living in a van by the river. Like he can validate to you that this story is actually true. I did live in a van by the river. So he saw me go from living in a van by the river to being the #1 producer in that attraction marketing system I was in, to launching Empower Network, to seeing Empower Network both blow up in a giant way, then literally explode. You know what I mean? Like, so he saw this whole, great. He saw this whole thing. So he's got a totally different perspective on Dave Wood, of course. And I consider him a great friend. He's got a fantastic, he's got a fantastic family as well. So, please welcome Eric Allen. While we're on, if you have any questions with anything that we're talking about, please engage. Please say hello in the comments. If you get value out of this, please like it and share it. This helps us get seen in front of more people. And I just want to help people with this, to have some sort of a breakthrough that can help you to succeed more, build bigger teams, do something better in your life that makes more money. And so that being said, Eric, why don't we just start off with you telling us a little bit about, your story and, how we met from your perspective, because this goes way back. So I'm excited today.
Oh, bro, I feel like my life's come full circle, bro. It's funny. I kind of put my foot in my mouth. I see David, like he's out there, connecting, interviewing all these like legendary, iconic figures and, entrepreneurship, personal development, network marketing, whatever. And I literally was kidding around. I'm like, David, what's up, bro? You're not going to interview like your boy from back in the day? And he's like, no, do you want to do it? And he like put me on the spot. I'm like, crap. I guess I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And so we're just going to have fun. So I feel like if anyone on the planet has a kind of a holistic view of the David Wood, because I literally think about this. I when I met David, he was literally living in a van down by the river. I mean, we talk about. I just live
was
by the
living in a van.
ocean.
That is not a story I'm making up.
Oh my gosh! And I actually, it's so funny because David actually plays a more instrumental role in my entrepreneurial journey than he even realizes. Because here I am, kind of brand new. I got into this personal development company, which basically was like YouTube for personal development before it was all free on YouTube. Okay, so we look back now, it's like, man, that might have had a shelf life on it, but we were so excited. We were, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just excited to create time freedom, get my life back, and I'll talk about that story in a minute. But bringing this kind of directly to David, like this guy shows up like way deep in my organization. This was like one of those old unilevel comp plans. I didn't even make money on David. That's how crazy this was. But he was like the first one that came in and inspired me because he showed what was possible. And I was learning on the fly. I was probably faking it too much until, I ultimately made it. I'm not always proud of that, but I just fed off his energy. And I think the one thing that I can look back and say I'm glad it is, I didn't get in David's way. I didn't let my ego get in the way. He brought all these crazy new ideas that hadn't really been tried or tested. And I was like, yeah, let's go for it, man. Versus like trying to be a know-it-all. And fortunately, that season of my life, I had enough humility to realize if you don't seek it, it'll be delivered upon you. So I'm like, David, look, you're the man. Let's do this together. And it's been really fun to watch him evolve into, kind of an iconic figure in his own right. And he's got a great heart. He's obviously been through the ups and the downs personally, professionally, like any human being. But David, you just like, you kept that spark going for me, because as entrepreneurs, we get out there, we have this mental paradigm shift, and it's like, man, we're going to go change the world. We're going to find others who get it like us, and we're going to bring all our friends and family with us. And we realize it can very quickly get lonely on that journey. And then you connect with people like David that inspire you to believe what's possible. So truly, brother, I don't even know if I would have stayed in the game if it wasn't for you. And even though that didn't work out, what I've realized, the ultimate asset in life is in the relationships. And
Sure.
I go through my texts, I go through my social media channels, Facebook, Messenger, Dave as I can. I always try to check in with David and really a lot of people that I care about, and not in a selfish way, just to kind of keep that relationship going. Because I realize the money comes and goes, but it's ultimately those relationships we cultivate with other people. That's the real asset that we have in life. So David gives me way too much credit. I did I got into a company. It grew to well over 1 million members throughout a few dozen countries. And I always think it's funny when network marketing leaders are like, I built this organization with my bare hands to over 1 million people. Bow at my feet, worship me, love me. I'm the man, I'm the woman, and it's like, no, I put in over 400 people, and a few of them were crazy enough like me to keep going, and plugged into a great system and platform they had at the time. And yeah, I was very blessed to be able to kind of live that lifestyle that I'd always dreamed about. And
Right.
again, unfortunately, sometimes pride, ego, greed gets in the way, and we can chalk it up to anything. But when that kind of crumbled before my eyes, I really didn't. Obviously, I was hurt. I was upset. But I was like, you know what? I don't know. It's all part of God's plan, right? Who knows what the next season's going to bring? But I always tried to cultivate those relationships. So, David, if I can backtrack, a lot of people like to hear kind of my story. I mean, for better or worse, but I really am not anything special. My wife will attest over here. She's like, you're really not that special. But I was one of those guys. Like, I was chasing my dream. I was an inner city teacher in my 20s.
Yeah.
I was coaching basketball. I was coaching track. I was coaching all the sports, and I had this dream. I wanted to coach Division I college basketball. All right, because I'm from Indiana. Anybody from Indiana, whether they're 6'2" like me, shorter, we all think we're going to play basketball the rest of our lives, right? So I'm like, I'd really love to get into college basketball coaching, and I got a chance to realize that dream. And as many of you can relate, sometimes the dream can take a dark twist, right? For me, I was chasing this dream. I got on staff at a Division I university here in Indiana, and gosh, it just consumed my entire life. I was up at 5, 6 in the morning. I was home at 10, 11 o'clock at midnight. I was gone for weeks at a time. I found this beautiful blonde that would somehow not only tolerate me, but marry me and bear my children. And I was just completely consumed chasing this dream, David. And it turned into this nightmare because not only did I take a huge pay cut, I was making 22,000 a year, no benefits. I was stressed out. I was time broke. I had all these responsibilities. You're just a few bad seasons away from uprooting your family and going to another college town. And for those of you who've ever suffered, from depression, anxiety, it's a very real thing. And I've come to a point where I'm very open and I guess, quote unquote, man enough to talk about that. I was really extremely depressed. And to the point, you wake up in the morning, those of you who've been through this, I mean, your thighs feel like lead cinder blocks. It takes everything just to get out of bed, go through the motions. And it wasn't because we were financially broke and we were on the verge of bankruptcy. It wasn't because I didn't love coaching basketball. It was because I was completely missing out on my family growing up. I was completely missing out on time with my wife. My own kid, I couldn't even make it to his games half the time. I was like, man, is this really what you want to do the rest of your life? And, I just became open. And I'm one of those guys, like I think Walt Whitman's credited to it, be curious, not judgmental. Be
Right.
curious, not judgmental. And, sometimes to a fault, I'm always open. I'm open to anything. I mean, within reason, David, within reason, as long as it's quasi legal, I'm kidding. I'm open. And I was always open to network marketing. I'd seen the Amway deal, the napkin presentation, the prepaid legal. I was always open to it. I just don't
Right.
think there was enough pain there to really take a serious look at it until I got in that really dark place. And I said, you know what, maybe I just need to look for something. And I saw an ad. I think it was in a newspaper. I don't know. It was like a 1-800 number that led to one guy, led me to another guy. And I got with this nutritional company and man, you talk about front end load. I think it was like $1,500 business builder kits, David,
Right. Right.
some magic jungle juice from somewhere. I don't know. And I just put in all my friends and family, $1,500 a pop. It was like a $500 front end commission. I think we put in like 80 people. So you do the math on that. I'm like, my wife's like, where's this money coming from? I'm like, we're getting everybody to buy these juice. And even though that didn't work out for a lot of different reasons, it just gave me hope. It gave me a new perspective, a new lens of looking at the world of entrepreneurship, of leveraged income, and just a way out, quite truthfully. And that door closed, which led me to our personal development company. And I just ran with it, man. I just said, you know what? I don't have time to get emotionally attached. I'm going this certain direction. I didn't really know what that direction was, guys. David, I didn't know what it meant. Maybe lots of money, time freedom, residual. It's just like I just went out. Not because I don't love coaching basketball, but I want to be able to go back and do the things I'm passionate about because I want to be doing it, not because I have to do it
Right.
in order to provide for my family. And just I'm the guy that's like, everybody should do a network marketing company or a home-based business. Whether you make money, lose money, doesn't matter. It's the personal growth. See, a lot of the words of wisdom I tried to give David in our journey together, and sometimes David be like, that's really good, man. It's like, yeah, I just read it out of a book like 5 minutes ago and I just regurgitated it. I just started feeding my mind with good books, surround myself with good people, going to personal development seminars, and just my whole mind set, my mental paradigm completely shifted. And then that door closed, another door opens. And I guess now that I'm 46 years old, gosh, that's over 20 years of kind of being in this entrepreneurial space. I've just learned to kind of detach myself emotionally because, and those of you that are believers or have a certain faith, it's like, it's all for a reason. Those darkest days, I mean, it's for a reason. It's kind of like you have to get molded into the person that you have to become in order to lead and inspire people. I mean, there's no testimony without the tests, right? And the goal, but David, you and I used to always use that Jim Rohn quote, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better.
Right.
Well, you know what? It's that adversity that ultimately gets us to the next level. And then that next level is going to bring you another devil that you'll have to overcome as well. So I know I went off on a bunch of tangents. So hopefully there was one or two nuggets there that struck home with anybody who's listening. So David, what else?
No, so this is great. So you were like, you were a coach and a teacher, and you were in a spot where you were essentially broke, and then you got involved in network marketing. You were in a nutritional deal, and then that kind of went out of business. Then you got involved in iLearningGlobal, which is of course where I met you. And then we met, and I remember you telling me that had an impact on you because you had this big team and nobody was doing anything. I remember this, right? Yep. And then I came along and I was like one more guy that was down there that was doing something, so we've known each other. Yeah. This is going on like, I think like 15 years or 14 years or something, dude.
Yeah, it was right when my son was born. So I remember, but yeah, David, it's funny because I think any new entrepreneurs, you understand, like the people that really will support you in anything else, for some reason you get excited about business opportunity. I think they have their best interests at heart for the most part. Be careful. That's risky. Those things don't work. I feel like there's this common denominator, these common ingredients that all of us can share as entrepreneurs. And, here I'm in with iLearningGlobal. Now I had to make that one work, David, because I had quit coaching college basketball. I had no source of income there. So I think I got that at like $4,000 a month, which at the time I was like, hey, that covers my bills. That's great. But then we started having babies, kept getting my wife pregnant, finally figured out how that was happening. But I was like, I was, again, that next level brought the next devil. It's like we had a team of a few hundred people, but there was no duplication. Like I think it's because I was a good enough salesperson to convince people to join against their will. And a lot of those friends of mine, a lot of those family, God bless them, they really wore me out. And I hope nobody's watching this recording, but it's like, guys, you say you have these hopes, these dreams. All we have to do is go partner up, get people in front of me, get them at Starbucks, get them on a 3-way call. I'll do all the heavy lifting. I'll shine your shoes. I'll do this. And I'll walk your dog. I'll give you a back rub. Just join my deal. But that was that next piece of adversity, because like nobody's doing anything, they're not doing anything. And then you came along, and here's what's crazy. I didn't even really know David until he already put like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people into the deal. See, a lot of the leaders you're looking for, they're going to show up and they're going to show you that they deserve your time based on what you see. I see David producing. I get to know him. He's a great guy. I'm feeding off him. Hopefully he's feeding a little bit off me. But you start realizing, man, there's more people out there like me. And for those of you that grow up in, smaller towns, smaller communities like I do, there's a big old world out there. And I'm bringing all my friends and family, and I'm like, gosh, is anybody else hungry, motivated? Does anybody else see this like I see it? Am I crazy? Are they crazy? And then you connect with another human being that vibrates on a similar frequency, and you're like, gosh, there are others out there like us. There's lots of others, especially right now, David. There's so many people kind of hoping and praying that something will come along to, help transform or uplift their lives. So kudos to you, brother. I told you, you don't even know how much of an impact you had on me.
Well, you too, man. It was great meeting you. And then, I remember you jumped over to the travel company. I don't even know if we're allowed to mention it. But you did so well over there. You just built this huge team over there. And that probably actually at the time, that probably would have been a better move than where I actually ended up going. Because, you that team of yours just kind of spanned around the world and held together for, a good 10 years,
Well, let's talk about that, David. I think, people hear that, they kind of hear the end story, but I'm going to tell you the real story. Like, so iLearningGlobal, I get a call from, remember our boy, Boyd. Boyd called me the day before Brady was born and just gave me a heads up that, they're going to shut the door. By the way, talk about one of the dumbest business decisions ever made. David's bringing in all these big players. These guys, they just didn't get it. They just didn't get relationship marketing.
No, right? we probably would have put 100,000 people in that thing that year. Like that, we were just kind of like on an upswing like this, and like it was kind of like a model that was like, will this really work? We didn't know, but it was like going like this, And it gets to here, and then they're like, oh, what's the biggest expense? These network marketers. That's what they did, right? They just saw, hey, look at all this money we're spending. Yeah, we want to keep that money. So they actually, anyway, so he called you. I want to tell you the story because I want to say what they said to me too. It was hilarious, but go on. So he calls you when Brady's born.
The day before Brady's done. That's my only source of income, buddy. I don't know. I mean, it was enough to live on, but when it's taken away like that, those of you have families, as the kind of the head of your household or the main breadwinner, that's pretty disconcerting. I'm like, of course, I'm just now that time I did get a little emotional, David. I was like, what the F is wrong with you guys? Are you that stupid? Well, of course they were that. So whatever. So I had to make a move. Now, I could have. I'm kind of like you, David. It's like, I don't feel like I'm better than anybody, but I don't feel like anybody's better than me. I feel like I'm going to outwork anybody to be successful or whatever definition that means or reach the goals. But I had to make a decision. Am I going to find another home-based business opportunity? Am I going to get back into teaching? Am I going to get back into coaching? Go be a realtor? Whatever. Wait tables, bartend, whatever. It's like I have to make money here. And thank goodness, because of some of the relationships I made while I was sharing that personal development company, I was able to connect with some other really good people, and I didn't burn those bridges, and that opened the door to the travel company. Now, this is one where I had to make that one work, okay, or I'd probably be out of that whole industry, if you will. So I came in, I put in, I think, 90 people in like the first 90 days. I won some trip to Croatia, David, on that yacht, and I couldn't even afford the airfare because I hadn't gotten paid those because I was paying off debts. And then I ended up, going because I have to show people these vacations are real. So that was kind of funny, but I had to make that one work. But again, just typical multi-level compensation plan. There's certain things that have to get balanced or have to work out. There's gotchas in there. I'm like, man, I got to get this up to at least a few thousand a month to cover my expenses and bills. And here's the great story. I want to share this one with everybody, just not to brag or boast, but just because I think there's some teachable principles here. I remember I met with a guy over in the state next to me, Illinois. Hadn't connected with him for a while. This is when I've probably been in 3-4 months. This guy's pretty sharp, and I sat down with him and I showed him the deal. Like 2 minutes in, he's like, basically, arms crossed, legs crossed, eyes crossed. He's like, I can't believe I drove all the way over here to meet with you to show me one of them little pyramid things. I can't believe you did that to me. And instead of I'm a very red driver personality, instead of giving it right back to him, I'm like, hey, bro, thank you. Like, seriously, thank you for being honest with me. I mean, I'll take a quick no over a long, drawn out, maybe you got to think about it, pray about it. Then they get abducted by the MLM aliens. You never hear from them again, all that weird stuff. I'm like, thank you for giving me a quick no. And he's like, I could just see him start to relax because he could tell I was authentic. I was like, thank you. Like, what do you mean, thank you? I was like, bro, I'll take a quick no any day. This obviously isn't for you. And he kind of apologized. But before he got out and left, David, this, I guess, is sales 101. I was like, hey, brother, here's the deal. Tons of people that I don't know. Okay. As you can tell, I'm serious about this. I have to make this work. I'm passionate. I believe in it. Okay. I believe in this. Would you mind introducing me to some of your most entrepreneurial people? I'm looking for leaders right now. I'm not looking for followers. I'm not looking for whiners. I'm not looking for complainers. I'm looking for leaders that I can partner with. All right. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I had to follow up with him a week later. It's like, hey, because he said, yeah, I know some people. He's kind of connected through different traditional businesses. Because I know some people. And I followed up a week later. It's like, hey, thanks for your honesty. You said you had a couple people that you might be able to refer my way. I think just out of kindness, and I think because he felt like a complete jerk because he acted that way, I think he just probably randomly sent me a couple of people. One of those people, David, was an Asian guy over in Singapore, my dear friend James Lee. Everybody look up James Lee. The guy's a legend now, does a lot of big things. And James Lee and I connect through Facebook. This is the extent of my internet marketing skills, ladies and gentlemen. We connect through Facebook. And at the time, David, Skype was the big thing, right? Remember Skype?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, let me get your Skype ID. I connected with James. It's got to be like 11 o'clock p.m. my time. I get on Skype. You could do that video. I basically had like a virtual coffee meeting with him. So this is the extent of my internet marketing savviness. I'm like, all right, I'm an internet marketer now. I got this guy's number. I connected with him on Facebook. Now I'm doing this virtual presentation on Skype. And I'll be darned, man, for 2 hours, we just went through the presentation, answered a lot of the questions. I think it got to be like 2 a.m. My wife comes out. She's pregnant again. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm talking to this Asian guy. He's really cool. He might be the one we're looking for over in Asia, because they had opened Singapore. It was the only Asian country that was open. And James says, I think I'm the leader you're looking for. I'm like, awesome. I said, all right, here's the deal. Let's get you signed up. James, as soon as we work together through Skype and build a team of 100 people, I'm going to fly over there. We'll do the first event in Asia. I'm not kidding, David. He brought in an internet marketer, not at your level, but a guy that put in like 100 people like this. There's no product over there. There's nothing. It's like vaporware. All right. It's all vaporware. They put in 100 people. I wish you could have been there. When I told my wife, we're not going to pay our mortgage this month, airfare to Singapore is like $1,600.
Oh, it's expensive. Yeah, I've been there.
$1,600 at the time. $1,600.
So you promised him that when you had like no money.
Yes, I didn't know he was going to do it soon. So listen, friends. This is the deal. The point we're making is your word is your bond. I made a promise. I made a commitment. And what's been so amazing to me over all my business journeys out there in life, it's amazing. If you'll just keep your word, if you'll just be who you say you are, if you'll just do what you say you're going to do, you're going to separate yourself from the masses exponentially. That you'll be a top 2%er. If you will just keep your word, be a person of character. It's amazing the things we learned in kindergarten. Isn't it so true, David? If you just do those little things compounded over time, you separate yourself from all the competitions down here. So I promised him, and I wish you could have been there when I told my wife, we can't pay the mortgage because I got to fly to Singapore. She's like, Singapore? What? Is that the Asian guy you've been talking to late at night? And I'm like, yes. So I get the air ticket. I don't have the money yet because the commissions didn't hit till Friday, David. I show up Thursday. Okay. I told a white lie. I'm not proud of it. I told James, I was like, dang, man, my credit card's not working here. Can you just put my hotel on your card and I'll pay you as soon as I get it reactivated? That's the only way. I flew there with no money. It was a $600 commission. I remember because it was a triple cycle. So it went to 200 each. It was a $600 commission. And you want to talk, and people love to hear that story, but you know how many times I got told, Eric, I'm your guy. I'm the one. And, it turned into nothing, or I got lied to, deceived to, let down, broken promises. I mean, it's just a matter of getting excited about the next one again, getting back up. And the last thing I'll say, David, is, the thing I love about relationship marketing is truly like, you're just one good meeting away from changing your life forever. I mean, if I wouldn't have reached out to somebody who reached out to somebody who reached out to Jay, who reached out to you, then we wouldn't even be on this video right now. I mean, if I don't meet David Wood, I don't know if I stay in network marketing, because I don't know if I lost belief. I don't know if it's worth it. It's just all these threads and fabrics of our lives that kind of embody this, and create this beautiful canvas, this beautiful fabric of our lives. So anyway, I know I'm rambling, but I thought that was a good story because people love to hear that story. I used to tell that story in stages around the world and people would love it. And then I'd say, but here's the part you never hear. All the times a three-way call never happened. All the times I got somebody to, come to a home party, nobody showed up. All the times I got lied to. All the times I got talked about behind my back. People don't want to hear that stuff. They want to hear, man, that's awesome. Now, last thing I'll say, please don't do what I did. I'm stupid. I'm crazy. My wife knew she was marrying a crazy guy. I don't want anybody to ever, take all your money and go out on a wing and a prayer. I don't. But there are going to be times where you do have to step out on faith, not by sight. And those that choose to step out on faith, okay, within reason, then, those are the ones that ultimately win and win big.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, this takes like, I think that if you look at the leaders that do great things at some point, they do something like this, right? They risk everything. Um and but they're willing to follow it through with work, you know? So anyway, you went out there, and then this turns into a big team in Asia. I remember you actually telling me you had a big team in Asia. I didn't actually know that you were in such a bad position when you went over to that company. I did not know that.
Wife and
But
kids, bro, they're not cheap. Come on, you know that.
yeah. Well, you had an impact on me too, because when I came into that company, I knew that it was like kind of like your first deal, and you were at least making some money, and it made me believe that I could do it as well. Very, very early on, and that was before I ever had made. I mean, I had never even made $3,000 a month when I met you in network marketing. Never. I think my biggest check was $3,500 in a month before I met you, and then iLearningGlobal, I got up to, from that company before they shut down, I was at like 8,000 or 9,000 a month because I had so many personals.
Just imagine if you would have been on my second or third level, I would have been making 60, 70,000 probably a month.
Yeah. That was great, dude. That was great. So let's talk, and everybody's enjoying this, right? So, if you're enjoying this, feel free to share, and I'm thankful that all of you are, on here and enjoying this. We are going to lay down some things that are going to help you if you just continue to pay attention and listen to this. So, Eric, talk to me about, so many people do not ever make it, or they haven't yet, right, in network marketing, right? Like, we've been around network marketing for ages. Like, what is the difference between somebody that makes it and somebody that doesn't? I think you just shared some big difference, right? Like, you didn't pay your mortgage to fly to Singapore, and like, you had no money and had your guy pay for your ticket so you could pay him back when your commission check came in, because it hadn't come in yet, and you couldn't let him know you were totally broke until until you'd broken through. So, yeah.
David,
So
this is where it's going to get interesting. It might get a little raw and real, and I've just learned transparency is the best. It just is. Time either promotes you or it exposes you, and I want to get exposed as somebody that was least authentic. I have a hard time the last few years really. I don't want to say believing in the network marketing business model, because I love the business model, and I have traditional companies now, and charities. I do a lot of different things, and my wealthy mentors, they love the idea of leveraged income. Who doesn't? I wish I could turn some of my traditional companies into network marketing or affiliate marketing companies. Not always possible, but the leverage, the business model. I've just found most success oriented people, they don't use ignorant words like, it's one of those pyramid things, that's like one of those scam. That's just not how successful people or success oriented people think. But I think network marketing is going through an interesting paradigm shift right now. I think people are just they're too I don't want to say educated. They are educated, but they have access to so much information, David, right? It's like, if you don't have a real value proposition, like, I think talented people, talented manipulators, talented salespeople, eloquent, stage presence people, I think they'll be successful at anything they really try to be. Now, the question is that always ethical? There could be a discussion there, but I think, in terms of network marketing, I really believe, this is me personally, I just think the hype, or saying, hey, don't worry about the product or service because we got the best comp plan, I think those days are really over. And I'd really challenge, what kind of person are you going to attract if you just created some sophisticated compensation plan with some bells and whistles, or something that just takes the focus on what is it that we're actually providing people. If I can go on Amazon and see the similar product with very similar ingredients at a fraction of the price. Again, I'm not saying a talented leader can't have some success, but what always bothered me, even in that travel deal, okay, quite truthfully, David, what really bothered me is there weren't more people making even life-changing money. We had a lot that were making 500, 700, 1,000 a month. And I think if you manage those expectations, most of the personal development gurus, most of the business experts out there that I know, they love that about network marketing. It's like, hey, if we can show you how to make an extra 500, 700, 800 a month, that can help a lot of people avoid bankruptcy. I think the problem comes in where, no, we're going to get you making 35,000 a month. We're going to get you making 80,000 a month. And I just have a real problem with that, because especially right now, and I'm not saying there's not great network marketing companies. I would just encourage anybody who's looking for one, say, you know what, is there something real here? And to me, believe it or not, David, in the travel company, it was like having a customer that just wanted to be a member. It was like a 4-letter word. It's like, wait a minute. Don't we really want customers who are never going to go away? Like, you look at these legacy companies, like Melaleuca and some others out there. I'm not a part of any of those, by the way. But I'm not part of any, period, actually. But it's like, there's something to be said about, are people going to purchase that product or service every month above and beyond a compensation plan? I really think the answer has to be yes, if we really believe in this idea of long-term residual income. And David, you're more connected than me, actually. You got even a greater pulse than I do on the industry. But you and I have always fallen in love with this idea of, man, we're going to work really hard for a season of our life. And we're going to do we're in our hearts, we want to do the right. We want to help as many people reach their goals as possible through this platform that we've aligned our reputation to. And if we're willing to do that, maybe that season of your life's a year, maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 5 years, whatever. But eventually we're going to reach the promised land where we have all this time freedom. We go buy an island somewhere. We go and start a charity. But honestly, brother, I mean, how many people like that do you really know who've been able to do that? I mean, I know some, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
I also,
I know a lot, but there's a lot more people that came through, right? So I know a lot because it's just like you stick around and you kind of run into a lot. But yeah, there's a lot more that they come and go, and they don't do that. Yeah.
Well, and yeah, and I think let's study the ones, like, to your point, what was different about them. They got with a good company. They got with good corporate leadership. They got with a company that listened to the field. They got with corporate owners that didn't let pride and ego and greed get in the way. They continued to evolve in time. They came out with marketing systems. They came out with new products, new services. They listened to the field. They look at the economic climate. Most of those people I know, and you and I know a lot of the same ones. I mean, they really didn't start chasing the next shiny thing over here and the next shiny thing over here. I mean, they really did stay the course, and they've been rewarded for it. The problem I have is, like you did, it's like I got certain people that really have branded themselves as network marketing gurus or leaders, and I can pull up my phone and they've pitched me on 17 different opportunities in the last 2 years. And, so I think it's all about finding that healthy balance, right? It's like, find something you believe in, something that you're passionate about, something that gets you excited, both from the value proposition and the willingness to get out and pour yourself into other human beings. And I think what we'll see here in the next couple of years, because with the regulations in America and other places, I do think, though, you have to have a real customer base who are just raving fans of your product or service. So that's where I think we're going, David.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that the days of just pitching a comp plan and that's it, they're kind of done. It doesn't work as well anymore. And then people see that if that's all you're doing, it collapses very quickly. So it can grow quickly, but it also collapses quickly, and network marketing, I mean, what you say is true. I mean, network marketing in general just This isn't always true, okay, but this is true so often. They just don't have any customers. None.
Yeah.
You know, all their customers, they're just reps. You know, so talk to me about what's wrong. You know, let's get into this. Like, what's wrong with network marketing right now? Like, what is wrong with it? You talked about a little bit of it, but like, what could be fixed about it that is broken?
You know, that's a great question. I think at the end of the day, people want to feel a part of something. They want to feel like they're cared about, like they're appreciated, like they're valued. And kind of getting back, like dovetailing on your other question, what is it about true leaders that allow them to have generational success? I mean, you and I both know guys that have been getting paid for 20, 30, 40 years.
Sure.
And what's interesting, you know, you don't always see them splashing that all over social media, but you talk to the people whose lives they've changed and they say that person like really cares about me. They like answer my calls, my texts, you know, within reason. No, none of us want to waste our time with complainers or whiners, but I think all of us as humans have an inherent desire to feel valued, to feel appreciated, to feel
Right.
like I matter. I'm not just a number, because the reality is a lot of people that join a network marketing company, an affiliate program, or, you know, certainly a network marketing company, they already get enough of that crap in their everyday lives. Maybe they're in a toxic relationship. Maybe they're alone. Maybe most certainly they're probably not valued or appreciated at work. So I know I was really bad in the beginning, David. I just assumed everybody was like me and you. Let's go make millions of dollars. Come on, man. We're going to change the world. But I look back now and I'm not proud of it. I think a lot of those people, they just wanted my time. They just wanted to feel a connection with another human being. So again, it's this art and it's this science. You know, how can we have something of real value that gives people a chance to talk about something that is appealing to them, that has real value? How do you create a culture that is inviting and, you know, doesn't feel like the people are always sitting in the front 3 rows at the events? And there's like, I've been at a lot of these events, there's like a barricade between the leaders in the front first 3 or 4 rows. They don't ever interact with the 98% of everybody else in the arena. So I just feel like, you know, it has to start on the corporate side. Okay. I think a lot of companies, David, have, I think a lot of companies have owners that still kind of look at their distributorship as free employees. They don't maybe value that these are people's hopes and dreams that they've aligned with here. So,
Yeah.
and then I think the other end, you have to have real field leadership that creates a culture that infuses personal development, personal growth, recognition, where people are celebrated. That maybe, you know, David, maybe somebody made their first like $500 ever in a month. Like, celebrate that. I mean, so it's just for you and I, it's kind of like common sense because we've seen the ugly side of it. But I think if we just have more companies that try to infuse all those elements, I think, and then they stay within the framework of the ever-changing legislation. They have a certain customer base, because that's going to be more and more required. I think it could be a really beautiful dawn of a new era. Because I mean, the reality is, you know, my 20-year-old son, guess what he does? He downloads 10, 20 different banking apps. He gets like $20 loaded to his account. He tells his fraternity brother to download the app. He gets another $5 put in his account. I think this new generation that grew up in the digital age through social connections, I don't, I think they're a blank slate. It's like, hey, let's show them a better way. And I also think you and I both know the world's changing so quick. Those who decide to get a college degree, if they even feel the need to do that, I mean, that thing's about as worthless by the time they graduate as anything, because the world keeps changing. And then we could go on a whole different talk about AI and technology and all that.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking when you just brought that up. I'm like, we used to make fun of like college education, but like now we're getting to the point where like the machines, they're going to start taking the jobs now, so the college education really won't do anything. I mean, it really is right there, dude. I was watching this for like 2 hours today. I
I
was
think
watching about AI developments. Both Google and Chat GPT. This is not our specialist on this, so we'll switch the subject back. Both Google and Chat GPT, the employees are saying both of those softwares are starting to develop emergent properties where the software is starting to be able to do things that it shouldn't be able to do. You know what I mean? By itself, right? Like they
I
don't
read
know
an
how it learned how to
article.
do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brother. I read an article like Chat GDP and AI alone is gonna like eradicate 60% of jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. Think about that. Even if it's 20%. I mean, but again, when one door closes, another opens. Where's the opportunity lie? I think the opportunity is going to lie in the power of the human connections. What's better at human connections than network marketing when it's done the right way? So maybe it's going to evolve. Maybe we call it something. It doesn't matter. But I think people are always, as human beings, man, that's how we're created. We want to create. We want to connect. But it's certainly interesting times we're living in, isn't it, brother? No doubt about that.
Definitely. So this idea of being able to start a business and then connect with people. So you see that the problems then, just kind of rehashing a little bit, that people are seeing is like the whole opportunity only pitch is not working anymore. People are more intelligent. So you need something for regulators, obviously, that is going to have customers that like really that they want to buy that product. Like these people are buying the product to buy the product. They're not buying the product. Somebody just said, dang, I just logged on. Work sucks. I'm gonna put that there, right? Yeah, like and the whole model we're teaching the kids now is like go to school to get an education in a subject that you're never going to use anyway, to work at a job that you don't like anyway, to retire when you're too old to enjoy it off 40% of what you couldn't live on anyway. That's the model that we teach people. You know what I'm saying? And it's
I'm
it's
actually
it's
getting a
now
course.
to a point where that won't even work at all. We have no
Uh,
idea what's going to happen. And that's the only thing I'll say about AI before we continue on with the conversation is that we don't have any idea at all what will be going on in the economy in 10 years. None. There's
100%.
nobody that does. Not a single person knows at all from where we are right now what will be going on in 10 years. The world could be so radically different that we cannot even describe what's going on.
100%. Well, that's a whole different talk about maybe your spiritual beliefs, what you set as a priority in your life. But yeah, everything's changing so quick, man. It's gonna be interesting here.
Yeah. 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 So talk to me then about, so we've talked about, what's going good, what's not going good and everything like that. And, talk to me about what's next for you. Like, what's your vision now? Like, what's next for Eric Allen and, your beautiful family? Where are you going in your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love coaching my kids' sports, man. Or I got a 20-year-old. I missed out on a lot of his younger days chasing different things that we alluded to earlier. I've got a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old. I coach a lot of their sports. I have a wife that's very tolerant of my crazy personality and all my entrepreneurial pursuits. But I'll tell you what, man, it's funny you asked me that question because I told the pastor of my church yesterday, because we're building a new house, we're doing all this stuff, and he was asking about that. I was like, man, I literally said this, Dave. It's like, man, I could see myself just like uproot my family and just going to Costa Rica for a year. I mean, I really said that to him. I want to really. I've got one big project I'm working on now. It's got a timestamp on it that you're familiar with, but it's like I really want to get out and just serve. I really want to go out and world school my kids. I really want to make a difference. And I know, as trite as that sounds, you get to a point in your life where, you've had money, you lost money, you get it back, you lose it, get even more. It's kind of where I'm at now. And it's like, that's cool and all, that's part of the journey, but what can we really do? Maybe, David, that's what you and I need to figure out. I mean, what can we really do to change the world? Because I think the advancements in technology and bringing people together, I think people can just see through just the bullshit that maybe that we succumbed to decades ago. Maybe we can be the change the world needs. Maybe, there is enough prosperity, abundance, love, peace, adulation. Maybe there really is enough that could benefit mankind. So I know I'm going kind of deep down the rabbit hole, but what really drives me is like, I used to talk about, I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave a legacy. And I never really peeled back the layers. What does that mean? I guess I want people to think back like, man, that Eric guy was crazy enough to get out and try to change the world, to try to alleviate poverty, to try to enhance prosperity, to try to bring people, closer to their hopes and dreams. And I don't claim to have the answers, but I'm always open to it, David. That's, again, I want to be curious. I want to be open-minded, not judgmental. That's why anytime you share stuff with me or other people, I'm always going to look, because maybe there's something there that's going to trigger something that could help us do that. And of course, my wife and I have our own 501c3, our own charity. We give a lot to that. We come alongside a lot of vetted charities that we feel are really making an impact per their mission statement. But yeah, that's what's really going to drive me the second half of my life. And as long as God keeps me around and kind of let him control the wheel, man, I'm open to all the possibilities.
Yeah, me too. I think that you and I are on board with this idea that we can do something much bigger. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we put, 500,000 people, 1,000,000 people there. We go make a bunch of money over there. We can market, we can attract people to ourselves. And then it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Yeah, now what? And that's like, it's right now it's like this giant like oh, that's reverse. It's a question mark, right? A giant question mark. And like, now what? Now what are we going to do? What's the next big vision? What is the actual vision that, like, this is actually a subject. I think we should talk about this whole idea of a legacy here. If we're honest, history just erases most people's names, right? Like most people, we talk about leaving a legacy, um, most people in history are not remembered, right? At all. Like, you go 50 years forward, right? If your family does genealogy, they might know your name or a little bit about you. I think that we'll have better records now because of the internet, which unfortunately doesn't forget anything that's bad either. So like, they know everything now, no matter what you've done, you can't get rid of it now, right? You're like, you got an article out there that you don't like. You say, can you take that down? And the person's like, nope. Nothing you can do. You know what I'm saying? So like, how could we actually create a legacy where we are remembered? Great question.
That one, David, I heard a speaker one time said, hey, do you know who your great 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 grandfather or grandmother was? And I'm sitting there like, no. He's like, and he points out, he said, yeah, because they didn't do anything significant. Now, you can take that different ways, but it kind of, I'm like, gosh, I'm sure they were a good person. Maybe there's different ideas of significance, but you're absolutely right about the annals of history. I mean, it kind of eradicates a lot of things, but I think we're living in some really dynamic times where those who really want to step up and let their voice be heard, make a difference, galvanize with other like-minded people, are able to do that. And, at the same time, you study history, it's like, look what some of these great historical figures were able to accomplish without all the technological advances, all the benefits we have today. So at the time, that probably seemed pretty outrageous. The first time, I wasn't there when we put somebody on the moon. I think that was probably pretty surreal. Gandhi was dealing with what he was dealing with. You look at some of these figures, it's like, wow, That really,
we remember. So these are people we remember, like Gandhi. You know what I mean? A couple of presidents of the United States, but not all of them. We remember the ones that did really bad stuff, and then we kind of remember the ones that have been on in our lives. But like in 50 years, I mean, will people ever remember? Will people even remember who George Bush is unless they're reading history? I mean, will like we had such drama. Like, what can we do where like people are going to remember? It's such a good question.
well, I think there's going to be I think there's going to be a huge transfer of wealth. You and I are probably in agreement there in the next few years. I would love to make sure that wealth gets transferred in the hands of people who actually care about putting systems in place to uplift humanity. I mean, wouldn't that be pretty instrumental to look back and say, man, there was this huge transfer of wealth from certain elites and who didn't do anything really special to deserve it. They just born into it or had to right connect, whatever. And all these people came together and said, I want to be a part of that transfer of wealth, and I want to, come together with others who want to uplift humanity, put real systems in place, and try to keep, the darn human element, David. You get that human element involved in anything, we always find a way to F it up, don't we? But, I think there's some really powerful stuff that we're going to be able to do here. And I think people are going to come together and, just decide that maybe we've allowed ourselves to be limited or inhibited, but with the power of people and the processes and the programs available, we can do some unique things. And I'm excited to be a part of that, man. It's like, again, I don't necessarily know where we're going. I don't necessarily know how we get there, but I sure want to be a part of it if it's something special.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, dude, I appreciate you tremendously. We've been on here for about an hour. We can hang out, obviously, as long as you want. But like,
I got
some of the
get to bed. I just appreciate you having me on. Honestly, I wouldn't expect anybody to jump on. I don't have the name recognition of a lot of the other people you brought in. I've always, there was a time I kind of liked being on the stages and all that, but really, not so much. I always loved kind of being behind the scenes guys and uplifting others. But if anybody watches this, and hopefully you got something out. I guess the last thing I leave you with is I really, I appreciate that David gave me this platform to share some things. Maybe there's one or two things that resonated with you or you can internalize, but I think I'm living proof that, anything's possible. I mean, as trite as that sounds, like if you just try to be a good human being, do the right thing, compound that over time, the right people are going to come into your life. And the right people will bring certain skill sets. They'll bring certain things that you're able to work collaboratively with for good. And, right now, I don't think there's ever been a greater time to be alive. I'm sure every generation said that. But, those of you who want more prosperity, more abundance, more happiness, more success, whatever that means to you, I mean, just go get it. And you know what? There's a lot of people out there rooting for you, even though it's going to seem lonely at times. There's a lot of people that need you to succeed so you can shine your light and then share your story that can liberate and inspire them. So I'll leave you with that. All right. And don't let your past dictate what you can become. We're all sinners. We've all fallen short, but at the same time, there's greatness inside of everybody, and find that right vehicle that allows you to help as many people as possible. So I'll leave you with that, David. And God bless you, buddy. I appreciate your friendship and leadership and all the good that you are going to continue to do for the world. Thank you.
Hey, we appreciate you too, and appreciate you, everybody. So you can follow Eric Allen on Facebook. Eric, if you just leave a comment or something on this thread so people can click on your name and follow you, that'd be great. Because I know that you're on Facebook. And everybody here, we appreciate you. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can do it. Believe that you have the power to transform your life, because you do, right? And keep fighting. I mean, I really got just a lot from that story of like you're almost broke and you fly to Singapore. That was just such a fantastic story. And I can see why people enjoyed that story. So thank you all for, David, you already have your greatness. It says, I need to find my greatness. David, you have your greatness. You just need to maybe unblock it. You know what I mean? Finding your greatness is this is what I'll leave you with. It's like the sculptor, right? you know, what's he really doing is he's taking, you know, a chunk of stone and he is removing everything in the way of the sculpture, right? That's what finding your greatness really is. It's getting things out of the way to realize you're already great and you just need to get rid of everything that is standing in the way, and it'll come out and it'll shine, right? So I appreciate all of you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, Danielle, and all the people commenting. Feel free to comment, like, share, and I will be on here tomorrow as well. I've got some great guests coming out, so appreciate you. Eric, appreciate you, and I'll see you all on the beaches of the world. Bye-bye.